Well, good afternoon, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather. Thanks for logging on and watching this latest edition of our video update. It is March 26th, 2014. It is Wednesday, and it is about 7:54 p.m. that I'm getting started recording this. A little bit later tonight because there's just a lot of data to go through and some things that I want to talk to you about tonight about the chance of even potentially some severe weather within the area. Don't think it's going to strike us, but maybe just to our south, and we'll talk about that and whether we have a risk of it coming north to us in just a second. Speaking of severe weather, folks, today's video update is being sponsored once again by Metal Magic across from the Radio Shack in Washington. Give Chad a call at 698-855 for all of your paintless dent repair needs. Folks, that may come in handy if we end up with some severe weather on Friday, or any other time for that matter coming up down the road. They have a traveling hail team. They do some custom detailing and chrome accessory and other things too. But when it comes to severe weather, especially, folks, Metal Magic has covered. So keep them in mind. We'll talk about the chances that we have for severe weather here in just a second. You may need them a lot this season if we become pretty active. All right. Here's radar in motion right now, and you can see how it's sort of wrapping around the low pressure system that's sort of centered out here. Watch as the radar goes into motion. You can see how winds around the low pressure wrap counterclockwise, and you can see that in the motion of the rain as it moves through. You can see it inching closer towards us as it comes in time. It looks like we are going to face a rainy 3 days. It looks like late tonight starting into tomorrow. So you got Thursday, Friday, and even into Saturday. Now the second half of Saturday looks like we clear out a little bit. It looks like the first half will be rainy. But we've got rain really to contend with. Looks like pretty much for the next 3 days, all right? Let's talk then about how much rain we can expect. Here's what the high resolution NAM says as far as rain totals. And once you get into these green shades, you're here, and particularly right up in here, you're looking anywhere 3 to 4 tenths of an inch, a half inch, all the way once you get into these yellow shades greater than an inch. So what you're looking at here really is a swath of maybe a quarter of an inch all the way to a half of an inch to an inch up in here, and certainly an inch or so down here. You get the idea that it's going to be fairly rainy around here. It'll probably be pretty patchy, as you can see, and highly dependent on where everything comes. But nonetheless, we're looking at a pretty decent soaking as far as rain accumulations are concerned over the next few days. Now, with those rainy type of days that we're going to have, also comes the risk on Friday of even some severe weather. We'll take a look here at what the Storm Prediction Center is saying for Friday, and you can see a slight risk of severe weather has been issued just to our south. Here we are in southern Indiana, right here, and you can see it stretches up about midway through Kentucky. If we take a look at the probabilities of it, really the slight risk here is the 15%, so it's a low end slight. But the 5% risk actually does cut through some of our southern Indiana counties here. So, and really by the time you get to a 5% risk, you are in a very marginal at best type of a situation. It's the type of situation where you couldn't rule out severe weather with this, but you certainly wouldn't rule it in. The data that I'm seeing does not suggest a widespread severe outbreak for any of us, even in Kentucky, in my opinion. So I'm not sure that the 15% is even justified being this far up. But we'll see. But the 5% certainly. Could we rule out a warning? No, I think this is a type of a setup where we could see one or two rogue storms maybe go into an isolated severe thunderstorm warning type of setup. We may see some rather strong thunderstorms even roll through that are below severe criteria and just end up with special weather statements out of them for 40 mile per hour winds and some small hail, those kinds of things. But it does not look like a widespread severe weather outlook by any means to me. Let's take a look at what the GFS is saying. Here's that low pressure I was talking to you about. We're looking at the precip type and the surface map here. Watch how this low just strengthens as it moves. It starts to move our way, and then it drags this cold front behind us, and that cold front will be fairly powerful, provide us a pretty good shot. Before that comes, notice the winds from the south-southwest here really are advecting in very strong amounts of warm air for us on Friday, and you can see with these isobar lines being so close together, that gives you the indication, of course, certainly that we are in for a very windy setup. And then we've got yet a little break in the action, it looks like, here on Friday afternoon. And then we've got Friday evening, the main show coming through into the morning hours here on Saturday. Notice what the GFS is even trying to do, even places from, say, Indianapolis northward, trying to mix a little bit of light snow shower activity, maybe even a little bit of freezing rain or icy precipitation in with it. That may be a little bit far-fetched at this point, but just to point it out that the GFS is saying that the high resolution, excuse me, not the high resolution NAM, but the regular NAM was actually saying that type of a thing this morning. It has since backed off of that for us. I am a little skeptical of that at this point. I think we're going to be dealing with just a rain type of a setup. Let's take a look at future radar and give you an idea of what we're going to be dealing with over the next few days. Here's that blotch of rain that you see out there tonight, and then watch slowly tonight as it moves our way. Here we are about 1 in the morning Eastern time. You can see it's sort of knocking on our doors. By the time we get into the morning hours, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., this is all Eastern time here, 7, 8, 9 here. So you can see we've got some showers potentially to contend with. Then we've got some pretty heavy rain that might move in towards northern Indiana. You see some pop-up shower type of activity for us. Watch as it comes closer here, and then Thursday night, it's as if the rain just sort of explodes over us as the low gets closer. And you can see the cold front starting to take form over here. You've got a low pressure that's moving up in this direction, a trailing cold front behind it, and so you may have a couple of lines that move through here. And this is during the overnight hours on Thursday. I don't think any of this would be severe, but just some heavy rain potentially with it. Rumbles of thunder certainly would not be out of question. And then as you go further in time, here we come by 8 a.m. on Friday morning. You see we've got a little bit of a break in the action. And so Friday doesn't look like a bad day at all, the first part of the day, but then watch how very quickly these storms just sort of blow up out of nowhere. And of course, that's the end of the radar here on the high resolution NAM. And we'll switch over to the regular NAM because it sees that a little bit longer than the high resolution NAM does. And you'll see this same type of a thing. There's that cold front moving through. Here we are on Friday. You can see the storm start to blow up down to our south. And there we go. That's about where we left off with the high resolution NAM. And then watch through the first part of Saturday. We get a little bit of this around here. This NAM model is maybe showing a little bit of light snow shower activity potentially to our north, but it's not aggressive with it, and it certainly stays well out of the area. But really, by the time you hit about 11 a.m., noon, somewhere around in there, you see it pretty much gone from the area, and then beyond that, skies would start to clear out a little bit. So all in all, doesn't look like a bad Saturday setting up for us. Just a little bit of rain to deal with at first, with skies starting to clear out a little bit after that. Let's talk just briefly about the severe weather threat. Let's analyze it a bit and see whether there's anything to be concerned about. Here's where we're setting at the time frame that we're looking at in question for Friday evening, and specifically we're looking here at about 8 p.m. on Friday evening, because that's the time that we would start to see that line, those storms just sort of blow up and start to move our way. Looks more of an evening threat for us than it does anything. Here we are looking at the jet stream, so about a 300 millibar level. And what you're seeing is the jet stream sort of going like this. And what I want you to notice is some very powerful winds over us. So there's certainly plenty of wind energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere. What about the mid levels of the atmosphere? Well, take it down to the 500 millibar levels. And you've got some winds over us, but some pretty strong winds down south, and that's where the slight risk area is. We go down further into the atmosphere. Remember, we're talking the 850 millibar level. We're talking the low-level jet, and if we want severe weather activity, then we want at least a 30-knot, 35-knot low-level jet to be able to support anything, and you don't even see that. You don't see that until you start to go into the blue shades. It's well off at the time. The slight risk area has actually been pinned by the Storm Prediction Center sort of down in this area, and you can see we've just got an absolutely subpar low-level jet, maybe on the order of 20 to 25 miles per hour. Could that bring a marginal threat for severe weather? Possibly, but it doesn't look like a widespread severe threat based on this particular parameter. Certainly the temperatures will surge enough. We talk about instability-wise. Let's take a look at instability. What I want you to notice quickly here is it's stable over us. Most of the instability is down to our south, so we don't have much at all to contend with up here. Lifted index, which is a measure of buoyancy in the atmosphere. In other words, can storms rise to the point that they could become severe? And you can see all the negative buoyancy pretty much remains down south of us as well, which is yet another indication to me that it is a very marginal risk at best. We have a couple of things that might be conducive for some rogue storms to go severe, but we have a lot of things that are stacked against it. In other words, one of the things that would be in favor is we do have a fair amount of bulk shear over us, which could provide some rotation enough to get some lift going into the atmosphere. Probably not for tornadoes to develop out of this, but maybe for a rogue thunderstorm. So we've got 3 or 4 parameters that are in favor of that 5% risk. We've got 3 or 4 parameters here that are not in favor of a 5% risk. So what you can see is a very marginal type of setup. Certainly not an organized severe weather threat is what I want you to get out of this. I think it's mostly going to be a heavy rain threat. And in fact, as we go back here and take a look again, that's what you see here, is we do have a decent little rain threat with us, but we could actually use the rain around here. Even though we've had a fair amount of snow this year, if you go down deep into the soil, it's still a little bit dry, and so we could use a little bit of replenishing. That certainly would not be a bad thing. So again, sort of to recap here, 5% could be justified, definitely not in the 15% for us. I think the main severe weather threat remains south of us. Now let's talk about temperatures real quick over the coming week. And as you can see, I told you on the Facebook site today that it was going to be an up and down trend. And watch this. We do start to warm up a little bit, but then we go back down, and then we warm way up, back down again. We start to dawn the warming trend. You get an idea of what I'm talking about here. Sort of looks like the next 2 weeks will be sort of a roller coaster ride on temperatures for us. All right. SouthernIndianaWeather.com, and we'll take a look at your Ubalor and Sons 7-day forecast. If you go to SouthernIndianaWeather.com, just hover over and click on 7-day forecast, and you can get this. Again, we got cloudy skies and warmer with rain likely tomorrow. By the way, tonight I don't have it on here. I usually take these off and just focus on the 7 days whenever I'm doing this outlook. But essentially, we're going down to the mid-30s tonight. It's not going to be a cold night at all. Tomorrow, up to about 55, considering we didn't make it out of the 30s yesterday and barely into the 40s today. That'll certainly be refreshing. But rain likely, very breezy. South winds 15 to 25 miles per hour, so hold on to your hats. Only down to 48. I wouldn't even be surprised to see some of us stay near 50 and hang out in the low 50s. It's going to be nearly steady temperatures, but I think we'll drop off just a tad bit. Then by Friday, we warm up to the mid-60s. Again, scattered showers early, and then the showers and thunderstorms will be likely in the afternoon. I really probably should have worded that more towards the evening, because I think it's way in the afternoon, closer towards the evening, before we really get much of anything. I think it's just a few scattered showers here and there throughout the day. The main action stays more towards the night, and then certainly into the overnight hours. And then Saturday, all right, cloudy with rain likely early, a little bit of clearing in the afternoon. Again, it's going to be pretty much a morning type of a rain event. And as far as severe weather, we've already talked about that again. Only a very minimal risk. I'm not really worried about a widespread severe weather outbreak out here. Sunday looks like the pick of the weekend. Mostly sunny, absolutely gorgeous, up to 62. And then take a look at this. I'm forecasting 70 by Monday. Some of the high-res models are split between the low 70s and the upper 60s. I'm splitting the difference and saying, hey, 70 sounds absolutely great to me. Partly cloudy, a very slight chance of rain, only a 20 or 30% chance, so not bad overall. And then not really that cold going down either, down to 45 for your low Monday night. Cold front moves through then, and we change back to the northwest winds. Only the upper 50s for a high on Tuesday, but that's great compared to where we have been recently, and then back into the 60s after that. So again, it's kind of that we go down, and then we go up, and then we go down a little bit. We go way up, and then we go down again. Again, it's just typical springtime type of weather where you have got a roller coaster ride. But all in all, not a bad temperature spread. You notice there's absolutely no snow in here. That's something we can be thankful for with the warmer temperatures. Hey, that'll start to green up the lawns a little bit as well. So, some things to look forward to. It's spring has changed, winter has passed. Hopefully we'll get some of this behind us. I'm not going to rule out and say that we'll never see snow again this over the next month or so, but the chances of it are certainly lessening. And yes, the GFS does want to hang around onto the idea of some snow showers for Saturday evening, but that stays, I think, to our north. I don't think it's anything that we are going to have to contend with, I should say. All right, one last thing. While we've got all of the rain activity going on, be sure to check out our interactive radar when you go to our website, SouthernIndianaWeather.com. Just click on the interactive radar button here, and we have a great interactive radar that you can use, and you can zoom out on this bad boy. You can put temperatures on it, and the whole 9 yards. You can zoom out and even get the regional and national views. Put it into motion if you want. You can see that rain and track it as it moves through us. You can even see the warnings pop up as they do come up, if they do, into our area. It is a great tool for you to use, so be sure to use it. All right, that is it for today's video update, folks. We'll have another one of these a little bit later down the line for Southern Indiana Weather. I'm Meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time.